The friendly neighborhood mail lady hooked a brother up. Hey everyone, thank you for joining me. It's good to see you. I do truly appreciate it. Come on in, sit a spell, take your shoes off. I got a book. I got a couple of books, and these two are ones that excite me, that I'm happy, and I can't wait to get them out and get my grubby little mitts on them, because they're from one of my absolute favorite authors walking God's green earth. And this is an author who for years now has been saying he's not writing any more books. And when a new book comes out of his, I'm glad. I want them. I'll take them all. Give me all you got. Lawrence Block. Thank you. But this one is, this is a couple of books from Subterranean Press by Lawrence Block. And these, the more exciting part is that these are two of my favorite fictional characters. Both characters created and expanded upon by Lawrence Block. One of them, Bernie Rhodenbarr, the famous burglar from New York City. And the other one is Matthew Scudder, the famous detective from New York City. And you can see here, I've got an entire shelf of Lawrence Block's Matthew Scudder series. And here is an entire shelf of Lawrence Block's Bernie Rhodenbarr series. I think it was 2001, maybe 2002, when I discovered the Burglar series by Lawrence Block. And the very first one I read was right here, Burglars Can't Be Choosers. And I became a big giant fan of the series. And I started collecting the books. This here is the first edition, first print hardcover of that series. And they did something weird. Random House did something weird on 1,000 of the books. They put a book plate in there, numbered and signed by the author. And this one is number 568 of 1,000. So very neat, very excited. This is one of the books where if you said, what are the most important books in your collection? This has to be on the list for me. One of the most important books. And interestingly enough, one of the other most important books in my collection, or I guess more accurately, another of the most important books in my collection, is also Lawrence Block, and that would be a Matthew Scudder. This would be the first hardcover edition of that book, and it is from Dark Harvest, the publisher that I do love, even though they no longer exist. It is signed, limited, and slipcased, and I'll show it to you really quickly once I take it out of the slipcase. There it is, The Sins of the Fathers, and that's the very first Matthew Scudder book from Lawrence Block. This is a signed limited edition. It was limited to 400 individually signed copies. This is number 478. Something interesting about this book is this was also signed by Stephen King. Go figure. As hard as it can be now to get something signed by Stephen King, you can go back in time and buy a book written by Lawrence Block that is signed by Stephen King. Go figure. But that the good and the bad. The bad thing is that makes this much harder to get for Lawrence Block fans and collectors. Typically, a Lawrence Block book is not going to break the bank. But when it's signed by Stephen King, all of a sudden, the price goes up. So I got me one, and I'm glad to have it. It's a prized part of my book collection. But the reason I'm here today is to talk about continuations to both of these series. Lawrence Block has added to each of them. And Subterranean Press, one of the things that I love about Subterranean Press is that they publish limited edition books for Lawrence Block. And I thank you for that. I'm so glad that somebody is doing such a thing. They also publish limited edition books for another one of my very favorite authors, walking God's green earth, and that's Joe R. Lansdale. So I've got quite a few Subterranean Press books of his as well. But I came here today to chew bubble gum and to open up this box, and I'm all out of bubble gum. That's right. So let me get this thing open and let me see my two Lawrence Block BUTs. Now, I made this purchase. Pre-orders were available. I think it was June the 7th, and each book cost $60. And I bought them without hesitation because I wanted them so badly. I'm not going to pass up limited editions by Lawrence Block, especially from two of my favorite fictional characters. But let's open it up. Let's take a look and see what they look like. I actually haven't seen any of these in the wild. Not that they aren't out, but I haven't seen any. So for me, it's going to be the first to see what they look like. And we'll take a look and see what you get for your $60 each plus shipping. So Subterranean Press packages their stuff in a big box with lots of bubble wrap. They also, at the bottom, I discombobulated it some, but they put styrofoam at the bottom to kind of protect it from something like jobbing in the box, maybe protect the books. And they put them in a bubble envelope like this here. And what else have they done? They've got them each bagged up in a plastic bag, and included as a bookmark, they're doing now what I call the best of both worlds. On one side, you'll get ads for upcoming books. And then on the other side, you get quotes from the warehouse. Better yourself, you piece of garbage. I need to tack this up by the mirror in my bathroom. Probably wouldn't hurt at all. And actually, bookmarks from prior editions that I bought actually included these two books here that I got. And then, of course, quotes from the warehouse on the back. So I save them. I save them with the books that come with them, but I especially save them if they're advertising books that I like. So it's really a cool deal. And random, I'm going to pull out the first one that I pulled out here. This one is the Autobiography of Matthew Scudder. And I talked a little bit about Matthew Scudder, and he's essentially a New York detective, an ex-cop. He had a drinking problem and all sorts of other problems. So it's more of that hard-boiled crime detective stuff, whereas the Bernie Rhodenbarr burglar stuff is a lot of fun. If you've ever seen, well, you think Agatha Christie, but also think The Thin Man by Dashiell Hammett. There's a lot of those elements in the Bernie Rhodenbarr burglar stuff. So a little more fun, a little less serious, and a little less concern over whether or not Bernard Rhodenbarr is going to come through. But this one here, this is the Matthew Scudder book, and I'm looking at that dust jacket there, and I like it. It's borderline between realistic and cartoony. It's kind of there in the middle somewhere, and I probably ought to know. I probably should have done the research, but I'm going to look and see. That dust jacket illustration comes from John K. Snyder III. And I really dig it. Good job, John K. Snyder III. I like it. So let me pull that dust jacket off and just show you what you're going to get from Sub Press when you buy this. This would be their economically published and priced line. So it doesn't have nearly as many features. It would be a more standard trim size, not as oversized as their $195 books will be, not quite as tall. And it's it's not a very long book. It's a thin book, maybe a novel, barely. So not very much, not a very large, big, long story, but maybe fitting the novel criteria. Cloth bound boards, looks good. That's good quality stuff. You got foil stamping on the spine, and then the Smithsonian binding and the colored end bands. So good stuff. Well published, well made book. But I'm guessing right now, a $60 book from Subterranean Press, I've just about hit the features. You usually don't get interior illustrations or other stuff. There's our colored end papers. But really, honestly, the thing I came here for is Lawrence Block and signed limited edition. So with what I've already showed you, you've matched a lot of other publishers out there, but done it better. So other publishers that I buy from because they publish authors that I like Gauntlet or Borderlands Press or others that I'm not going to name, you get either this or less. Gauntlet, Borderlands Press, you get glued bindings, you get lower quality materials on the boards and stuff. So I think a lower quality paper as well. So I can't complain for my 60 bucks. There's my signed limitation page. For 60 bucks, this is about what I typically expect for a book. Now, there's another publisher out there named SST Publications out of the United Kingdom that's publishing books for around 60 bucks, 6 or more interior illustrations. They're including more for the money than this. But that being said, when I buy a $60 limited edition book, this is about what I expect. I expect you to give me this much. A quality book, limited edition, signed by an author, and good-looking dust jacket artwork also adds to it. But here we've got that quality binding. The book should last and last, and you don't got to worry about such things. Here's what the pages look like. So the text size is good enough, big enough to read. Not a lot of wasted space, but it's not too small and not too crammed in there either. The pages, it's not a stark white, a somewhat creamier in color, so it's not so bright. A lot of folks like that, the less contrast. And I'm just going to do a quick flip through. I don't expect that there's any interior illustrations in here, but it would be a crime if I stood here, told you there are none when there actually were. But as expected, no interior illustrations. This book tops out at 199 pages, and I read a lot of novels over the years from some authors that I really loved that weren't even that long. And so not complaining about that in the least. More Matthew Scudder, the better. Thank you, Lawrence Block, for hooking us up, and thank you, Subterranean Press, for hooking us up. Now, the autobiography of Matthew Scudder is interesting. It's a fictional character's autobiography. So it's a neat concept, and I don't know, but I think that's where an author like Lawrence Block is at this point in his life. He's been writing for so many decades. And he probably, I'm not speaking for the guy, but I think he probably needs something to pique his interest, to say, hey, this is enough of a catch that makes me want to write something. And that's why maybe over the years, at different times, he said, I'm not writing any more novels. And then suddenly another one pops out. So I'm glad for it, man. Keep them coming, and I'm going to keep buying, and I'm going to keep reading, because I love these two characters. And I love Lawrence Block. I've never read a Lawrence Block book that I didn't like. I've loved some more than others. But even the ones that I think this is probably the weakest of the bunch, it was a good book, and I liked it. And I read, I would recommend it, so I can't say anything bad about the author. Now, this one is the Bernie Rhodenbarr mystery, and this one takes, again, it takes a little catch and turns the story on its head. So, Bernie Rhodenbarr is in an alternate universe, and I haven't read it, but it sounds interesting. You take a character, a burglar, and now suddenly when you look at today's day and age, this cat burglar has been breaking into apartments and houses and offices and all sorts of places, libraries, all sorts of places. And now you put in modern technology with surveillance systems and all these kinds of things, and it probably makes it very difficult for the guy to continue doing what he's doing and the way he's been doing it. And getting away with it and all that kind of stuff, scot-free and clean. So you take him and you put him in an alternative universe where some of this stuff doesn't exist, and now you can go on having the fun the way you've been having the fun. So I think that's what we're looking at here with this one, but it's Lawrence Block and Bernie Rhodenbarr, so I'm in. You don't have to sell me, I'm in. But you see something different right away with the dust jacket on this. It's a glossy finish, where the other one was probably more common for Subterranean Press, a more matte, dull, less shiny finish, a little bit of texture when you touch it. This is glossy, slicker than, never mind. But it looks good. The Burglar Who Met Fredric Brown, a Bernie Rhodenbarr novel. And this one is a little thicker and fatter, but you still see that Smith's own binding, the colored end bands, good quality stuff. Let me take off this dust jacket here and show you what the book looks like. And the dust jacket here features illustration by Chuck Pyle. So Chuck Pyle artwork on our dust jacket, and all stretched out. There she goes. So these, as you see both of these, the dust jacket artwork is basically the front of the book. It doesn't wrap around to make a larger picture. And it's not uncommon for a lot of the sub-press books that I've got to be like that. I'm not complaining, just pointing out aspects of the book. The front looks cool, and there is our cloth boards, good quality stuff, and hot foil stamping on the spine, much like the other. The end papers are still colored, and the limitation page looks cool. I've seen it. How about you? This is copy number 126 of 750 numbered copies, signed by Lawrence Block. And it looks good. It looks good. And I'm assuming, like the other ones, there were no advertised interior illustrations, so I assume that means there are none. I think if I was selling a book with interior illustrations, I would advertise that there are some in there, but I don't expect it. Anyway, $60 book. There's what our page will look like if you want to read this book. $60 book, and I got my money's worth. Like I said with the other one, this is what I expect out of a $60 book. If I get less, I'm probably disappointed. If I get more, I'm pleasantly surprised. So we've got publishers that'll give you less for the money. And I still buy them because they're publishing books by authors that I like. I mean, I've got a bunch of them that would be that way. When a Blake Crouch has a limited edition book, whoever it's from, I'm going to buy it. And maybe it would be a situation where I assume that book might be cheaper later on the secondary market, and I might hold off and do that. But still, I'm going to be so tempted to buy it when it's pre-orders are available that I probably will have to buy it. Same with F. Paul Wilson. I've got other authors that are published by publishers that maybe don't give you this much for the money. I still buy them because I want the author's stuff. Hey, it's me. You do things your way, and I do things my way. But there we go. I got these two books in the collection. I'm excited about them. I'm excited about them because of who they are and what they are. And Subterranean Press did a good job. No complaints. They gave me what I expected for my money. So I walk away feeling like I got my money's worth. And also excited because I've got two books that I get to put in collections on the shelves, hopefully forever and ever, or at least for a long, long time. I can think of no more lies to tell. So thank you for your time. I do truly appreciate it. C'est la vie, baby. Toodoo.